Greetings and welcome to Your Radio Pastor broadcast. My name is Joel Wegener, and I count it a real joy to share this time with you each week. Stay tuned for a half hour of music and inspiration.
Lay aside the sin nature that you're born with. You didn't choose it, but every Christian, I don't care what kind of denomination or theological perspective, tradition, every Christian that really loves the Lord has found that there's a pull on them that's a drag, that's embarrassing. It's not the same for everybody. It doesn't manifest itself in the same way. There are people that before they were ever saved, they didn't know what it meant to be mad in their entire life. They've never been Christians. There are some that's the trait in you. It doesn't matter. There's so many different ones. But young people and older people, to run this race, you've got to let the Lord sanctify you wholly.
That is right where we ended the message last week, a message from Reverend Joe Smith entitled The Race Before Us, based upon Hebrews chapter 12, verse 1. You may want to turn in your Bibles to that. Let me read that for you. Wherefore, seeing we also are compassed about with so great a cloud of witnesses, let us lay aside every weight and the sin which doth so easily beset us, and let us run with patience the race that is set before us. On today's Your Radio Pastor broadcast, we are going to hear the conclusion of that powerful message and also some great gospel music, like this one from Union Bible College, their group entitled Witness, and a great message and song, All of Me medley. Open your heart. Let God minister to you through this song, All of Me.
All of me, not a part, but all of me, all the heart and soul of me, Jesus, I surrender. I believe, Lord, help my unbelief. On the altar now I lay all I am today. As I am, I come to Thee without one plea, only that Thy saving blood was shed for me. All of me, through the ages yet to be, I surrender, Lord, to Thee. I surrender all of me. So use me, Lord, use me anywhere at all, though my place may be great or small, let me fill it gladly. Take my life, be it poor or be it grand, let me live it by Your plan, shape it with Your hand. As I am, I come to Thee without one plea, only that Thy saving blood was shed for me. All of me, through the ages yet to be, I surrender, Lord, to Thee. I surrender all of me. All to Jesus I surrender, Lord, I give myself to Thee. Fill me with Thy love and power. Let Thy blessings fall on me. As I am, I come to Thee without one plea, only that Thy saving blood was shed for me. All of me through the ages yet to be, I surrender, Lord, to Thee. I surrender all of me.
Yes, what a powerful song, what a powerful message. So well done by Union Bible College, All of Me. Friend, that is the key. Surrender. It's not in the struggle, it's in the surrender. So whatever your spiritual need is right now, I just encourage you to surrender to Jesus Christ. He is trustworthy. You can trust the Christ that died on Calvary for you. Well, as I mentioned earlier, we are going to hear the conclusion of the message that Reverend Joe Smith gave at Camargo Camp in 2013. So, as I often say, open your heart. God wants to speak to you and me right now.
Not only do we lay aside every weight, but look at the rest of it. And we are to run with patience the race that's set before us. It's interesting. Run with patience, looking unto Jesus. That run with patience is a present imperative that means set your face and keep at it. Imperative is command. I mean, I could just say, Brother Archie, would you like to go with me? That's just a request. But when I say, come with me, that's an imperative. There's a little difference, especially if you're a parent to the child. That present imperative is saying it's essential. Run with patience, looking to Jesus. Now that's also interesting because the connotation there is looking away from everything else and focusing just on Jesus. Young people, listen to me. You're going to see spiritual tragedy. You can't get out of it. You're going to watch people fall. You're going to see it. I'd love to tell you you're going to make it through life without this, but you're going to see someone that is of stature, that you had confidence in, that fell miserably. Sometimes it might be awful sin, or sometimes it just might be a real character flaw. But you're going to face it. You're going to see inconsistencies. You're going to see things that shouldn't be. Young people, there is one way, after you know your heart is cleansed, to make it. It's to fix your eyes on Jesus. Dan Stetler said something that I've never forgotten when he came to speak at our church on why we believe what we believe. He did a few sessions. It was excellent. But one of the things, Sister Mary, the thing that he said that I've thought over and over again is right on. Dan Stetler said of every great man that he ever knew, and he started naming them, Brother Flexen, Brother French, Brother Heron, on and on. He said, every great man that I ever knew, that I knew well, are you listening? At some point disappointed me. Now, he made it clear he wasn't talking about sin. He wasn't talking about evil stuff. He was talking about the humanity that shows through. What he was trying to tell us is, when you have someone on a pedestal and don't keep that in mind, when they fall off that pedestal, you can get your eyes off of Jesus. Or maybe someone that is not just a great man that's disappointed you, as every great man will or woman, but someone, like I mentioned, that just you find out were not what they said they were. Or maybe it's the way you're treated. Maybe you'll choose a Bible school and go somewhere, and of all things, the dean of men or someone in charge will not be fair to you. Do you know that's possible? And the only way you'll make it is to keep your eyes fixed on Jesus. He's the author and finisher of our faith, who for the joy, and this is what we have to do too, who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross, despising the shame. Why did he put up with that? Because Jesus himself was focused. And there are times when you've been crushed that's the only thing that'll see you through, is to look out there and know the joy of what's coming. I'll just tell you this and I'll close this morning. A number of years ago, a lady in our church, a saintly lady, quiet lady, Joyce Moore, Gordon's wife, came to me and she said, Pastor, I'm hesitant to come to you, but she said, I just feel like I just need to. She said, the other day I was going about my business and I got the strongest impression that I was to go see my aunt. Now this would be a lady in her 80s or whatever, the aunt she's going to see. I hadn't seen her for a long time and I just couldn't get that off my mind. So she said, I went to see her, and she said her daughter-in-law was there. Now she said, Brother Smith, here's the thing about her daughter-in-law. She said, several years ago, my aunt's grandson, 18 years old, star wrestler in one of the Indianapolis high schools, finished high school. He was out with some kids. They were partying. They were drinking. There was a wreck, and he ended up paralyzed from the neck down. He had a little bit of shoulder muscles, so he could do a little bit of this and all. But she said, my cousin's wife took him all across the country to every place that claimed faith healing. Didn't matter. Just took him everywhere. Prayed for his healing. When it was obvious that he wasn't going to be healed, she said, Joanne, that's the boy's mother, took her Bible, literally, and threw it in the fire. And she said, I don't believe in God. And even if there is a God, I wouldn't want a God that wouldn't do anything for my son in that kind of shape. That was when he was 18 years old. The boy is now 32. And it's been that way all these years. Just bitterness and hatred. And if you knew Joyce, you know this had to be God, because Joyce wouldn't have been bold enough. But Joyce said, Brother Smith, I just felt I had to ask her, would you consider letting my pastor come see your son? Now he's 32. And she said, Brother Smith, she said you could come over, but I'm afraid to ask you that, because they might really mistreat you and might be very rude. And I said, well, Joyce, I want to go. And I got the address, and it was in the Indianapolis area. And I went and I knocked on the door. And this 50-year-old Joanne, the mother, came to the door, and she had me sit down while she interviewed me. She was going to find out what kind of guy I was to start with. And she told me the same story herself. And then she said, Preacher, I don't even know that Richie, that's her boy, I don't even know that he'd see you. And I said, Joanne, I understand that. But if you would, could we try? And she said, okay. So we walked into the bedroom. There was a very thin, long, straggly-haired young man, dishwater blonde with a little goatee. And he's there in the bed, sheet up here, arm here. And she said, she didn't tell him I was a preacher. She said, Richie, I have a friend of mine that wants you to meet. And I looked around thinking, what can I do? What can I do? Well, Richie was a wrestler, and I had been a wrestler. I wrestled actually in college, my freshman year, and I want to say that all of that stuff in the public school system helped destroy me spiritually, so I want you to know that. But I wrestled and broke my neck in practice, got my head tucked under me. And I was in traction in the hospital a couple weeks, and then they put me in a thing for months, but I wasn't paralyzed. I still had use of my arms. And years later, I had a surgery. I got a steel plate in here, a couple screws here, fused. So I always tell Nathan, my 6'6" boy, if it wasn't for this neck, Nathan, you could be down on that ground just like that. And I can always say that, and he knows that we're not going to do it because... But I said, Richie, I wrestled too. And I told him about